Hello, this is Martha with Living the One Light. So today in this video, I want to talk about the eclipse that's coming up on December 3rd and 4th, which is Friday or Saturday, depending on what part of the world you're in. For most of the world, this eclipse is happening on December 4th, Saturday. If you're on the west coast of the Americas or Alaska or Hawaii, it's happening late, very, very late on December 3rd, Friday. And so this is a new moon eclipse in Sagittarius, which is happening on the south node of the moon. So the major theme that I'm feeling called to speak to regarding this eclipse is a very powerful energy that I'm feeling around letting go of what we know, or letting go of what we think we know, letting go of our conceptions of knowing. I don't know if you ever took the class Theory of Knowledge in high school, but it reminds me a lot of that notion, you know, the deconstruction of thought, the deconstruction of knowledge. And another aspect of this eclipse that is outside of my astronomical knowledge, but exists, is that it is the place in the zodiac where this new moon eclipse is happening is at 12 degrees Sagittarius, which is very close to an astronomical phenomenon called the Great Attractor, which is at 14 degrees Sagittarius. So I am not very familiar with the science behind this Great Attractor, but I looked it up on NASA's website, and it is really actually a thing. It's not just something being talked about. What I feel though, when I feel into this, the energy of the eclipse, what I'm being shown, or what is going on in my own body with regard to it, is the sense of energy being pulled back out of me. And that makes sense given that this is a new moon on the south node of the moon, because the south node of the moon has to do with releasing things from the past. It has to do with, you know, maybe karmic things kind of coming up to the surface to be released. But also when I feel into this new moon eclipse lining up with that Great Attractor, I feel this intense, just kind of sucking backward. And when I feel into what is the spirit world really wanting, what's the message wanting to come through me regarding this eclipse, it's really around, again, this notion of just totally letting go of what we think we know, what we think we should know, how we conceive of knowing, where we get our knowledge, our sense of who our teachers are even, and, you know, many layers of things around all of those themes. So one of the ways that it feels like this energy of releasing what we know is particularly important is that we are in this time of, as we all can feel and see and experience, this time of the structures of our society being broken down, questioned on so many levels, you know, just all of the experience of being in quarantine and COVID over the last, year and a half, just that even in and of itself is a huge example of this deconstructing experience of around structures. And so the nodes of the moon have been in Sagittarius and Gemini for the last almost year and a half. I think since May 2020, I want to say. So we were coming up in January of 2022, the nodes of the moon are going to switch from Sagittarius and Gemini into Scorpio and Taurus. And so this eclipse is the last eclipse that will be happening for 9 years in the signs of Sagittarius and Gemini. And it feels really crucial and really key to this bigger picture of, the breaking down of the structures, like our constructs around how we want to structure our societies and structure our lives and even structure our identities. It feels really key to also let go of our structures around knowledge and our structures around being right and being wrong, or again, where we get our knowledge. Not because it's all wrong, that doesn't feel like the point. And not that it actually even all needs to go away. It's just what I'm feeling is this really strong opportunity to let it go, to therefore allow in whatever needs to come next, specifically with regard to, our sense of where we get information, how we congeal that information, how we make sense of it, how we give meaning to things, and where we're looking to gather, to get that sense of meaning. So a really big energy also related to that coming up in 2022 that, is already in play in my world, at least, but I'm pretty sure just for lots of people, is that on April 12th, 2022, Jupiter will conjunct Neptune in Pisces. And this conjunction in Pisces between Neptune and Jupiter does not happen very often, right? So it will be happening for the first time in, I want to say, 150-ish years. The details are actually in the journal that I just published, the 2022 journal. All of those details are there. But in any case, it's very long time since that conjunction has happened. And Jupiter is the traditional ruler of Pisces. Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. So when they conjunct in Pisces, we have the traditional ruler and the modern ruler joining together in the sign that they jointly are associated with. And I feel so much potential in that meeting of the two of them. And incidentally, Neptune is actually going direct tomorrow. I'm making this video on Tuesday, November 30th. Neptune is going direct on Wednesday, December 1st. So as it starts to move direct, it will be moving toward the point where, Jupiter will come up and meet it in April 2022. And one of the notions that this meeting of Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces really speaks to for me is the idea that the ultimate guru, the ultimate teacher, which is represented by Jupiter and Sagittarius, is ourselves as the divine. or is the divine itself, right? Is the reality of Pisces as the all that is. And one of the huge themes that the spirit world is so strongly emphasizing to me, and they talk a lot about in this journal that I just published last week, is this wish and hope and prayer that they have, that we come back into remembering ourselves literally as the divine. So when we come back into this re-embodying and remembering ourselves as literal, actual beings of the divine, because we all are, everything is, part of being a being of the divine is that we also are transmitters and carriers of the wisdom of the divine. And we each are, like what's talked about in one of my books called Gaia Speaks, is that we are each like a tuning fork of the divine. So the song that the divine sings as us is unique to us, right? And so we're not going to necessarily, like me, Martha, I'm not necessarily going to have all of the wisdom of the divine, although the energetics of infinity are fully present to move as me, and they're fully present to move as you, because we are all of it, each of us. But I'm designed, like the song that is me, and the energetic vibration that is me, and the divine tuning fork that is me, is designed to vibrate in a particular way. My voice, I mean, my voice is like, our voices are a very concrete example of that. Our voices have a particular signature to them. And so the wavelength of certain aspects of the wisdom of the divine are going to vibrate through each of us in a particular way. But nevertheless, we are each literal, actual carriers and transmitters of this wisdom of the divine. So the sense that I get is not that we're supposed to, not have teachers or not need other people or something outside of us to guide us. I mean, we obviously do a lot of the time, and that's very legitimate and very important. And at the same time, there's this really strong calling to come back inside our own self, our own sovereignty, our own self as that vibrating song of the divine that is us, and to really believe in and trust our own intuition, our own sense of what's in resonance for us and what isn't. What meaning do we give to things and what do we not? And so, yeah, this new moon eclipse on the south node of the moon is like, I feel a really strong energy around maybe letting go of, again, feeling like whatever you think is right, or even what you think so and so said that you assumed was right, maybe letting go of assuming or putting certain people on a pedestal or whatever it is, letting go of the notion that whatever we thought was the truth may or may not be in this moment. Maybe yesterday it was, and maybe today there's a different truth that needs to move in and configure itself for whatever it is that we're meant to do or move forward. And I say that with a little bit of hesitation because I don't want to give the impression that we should get ungrounded. I absolutely feel very strongly about us staying grounded and rooted. And the spirit world is, very adamant about that as well, that we come into the vibration of us as the divine, but we also stay fully grounded and rooted in ourselves as beings of the earth, beings of source, beings of the all that is, all of it at once together. Like this tree, this tree on my necklace. We've got our roots, down into the ground and up into the stars and through everything. That's really, really important. And then the last piece that feels really key here also is a few months ago, I wrote an article, which maybe I will attach here. It was, on a certain level about my grandmother. And I was talking about how her ancestry is Scottish. Her father immigrated from Scotland. So my great grandfather immigrated from Scotland. And his family was from an island off the west coast of Scotland. And so there's a lot of talk about people with second sight and, the ability to interact with the supernatural world, things beyond the rational mind. And my grandmother, the gist is that my grandmother was a 1950s housewife and mom of 4 kids and lived a very Midwestern, normal, middle class, upper middle class, Caucasian life. She's a very, very good person. And at some point a few months ago, my aunt, so one of her daughters, said to me that she thinks that my grandmother probably had a lot of, abilities to interact with the spirit world similar to how I do, but that she suppressed that because it wasn't socially accepted. So that really hit me hard. And I even feel sad thinking about it right now. And just all this grief came up for me around that, because it really speaks to this idea that in this society, since the industrial age and the surge the upsurge of science becoming the forefront of what people really believe in, which is a good thing. But the downside of that has been that our sense of trust in things that are not of the quote unquote rational scientific mind have been relegated to this other sphere. And that's a big loss. That's not good. So in this article, I talk about, my thoughts on why that is. But just to give the gist of that is that one way I think of it is that, when I was a therapist for a long time, we would talk, I did a lot of work with trauma. And so we would talk a lot about the importance of, when you're in a traumatic situation, you'll often revert to the hindbrain or the instinctive brain, and the parts of the frontal lobe and the parts of the brain that have empathy and that think ahead and that can plan, they will often shut down just for survival's sake. So when we're helping people come back into a non-traumatized state of being, part of what we're helping people to do is, quote unquote, come back into their whole brain so that they can function more fully as their whole thinking self. Okay, so that's great. That's wonderful. And what I really feel that's missing, and what the spirit world, is partially trying to have me communicate, is that yes, absolutely, it's so important for us to use our whole brain. However, in addition, we also need to be more and more using our whole bodies, because our bodies have incredible wisdom, as we know more and more and more. Often our bodies know things instinctively before our rational mind does. Most of us have experienced that many times. And then, even to take that a step further, in my experience, when we extend our consciousness to include even all of infinity, all of a sudden, so many things can become clear. Like Einstein is a perfect example of that. Much of what he wrote about and taught was not scientific knowledge that he obtained in a laboratory. It was through thought experiments, right? It's like, I don't know a ton about Einstein, but there are these stories about him riding his bike in circles and he would be thinking, and he would just, these ideas would come to him, and the theory of relativity or whatever would just, it would be him going into this space of thought that I'm guessing was very cosmic, given what he was talking about. So, that doesn't really fit into our normal, rational, scientific paradigm. And yet it's pretty darn phenomenal and has pretty big implications for our world. So for many of us, that similar thing is true. And there's just so many aspects of us that are not part of the rational linear mind. That's one part of us. Our brain is here. It's right here. And then there's all the rest of us. And our brains are wonderful. I mean, I love my brain. It's great. But so this notion, this new moon on the south node of the moon in Sagittarius, and then, add in the conjunct, the Great Attractor, really, really feels to me like it's trying to say, just let it go. Just let it go. The knowledge that you have might come right back around and be exactly right for you in this moment. And it might not be. But stay grounded. I mean, stay grounded. Let it go and stay grounded at the same time. So, yeah, I think that's the gist of what I feel called to say about that. And then I'll just also add that I did just publish this almanac and journal and personal astrology guide, and I will make a video later this week specifically about those. But if you are drawn to this, it exists on my website and on Amazon. My website is livingtheonelight.com. And then there's also a membership that goes along with this journal. There's free videos that go with the journal that actually anyone can access on my website through my teachable site, which you can access through my website. And then there's a paid membership starting at $22 a month for people who want to drop deeper. And the membership is is really right for you if, number one, you just want a sense of the spirit world holding you throughout the year. Because I'll be doing channeled guided meditations for each month. I'll be doing, channeled messages for each month that go with the themes of the astrology of the month. And and then it's also for people who want to drop into your own experience of these energies. So your own experience of what is Sagittarius, what is Jupiter. These are ideas. And again, it actually kind of goes back to the theme of this eclipse. It's like there's one version of talking about astrology or talking about anything where someone like me might say X, Y, and Z are the energies related to this archetype, and therefore, and give you an interpretation of it. And then there's another level, and that's very important. I mean, that's good, that's important. But then there's another level of really dropping into your body and your heart and your spirit and getting it in yourself. What do these energies mean as me? So what does, Sagittarius feel like for me in this moment? And what is Jupiter feeling like for me? So that's really more my approach to astrology, is really about how does it feel in your body? How does it feel for you? And this membership will, in this membership, I'll be also really nurturing that ability for you to come into your own resonance, your own relationship with all of these energies in whatever way is right for you. And then, so that's at the $22 a month level. And then if you're wanting one-on-one attention from me, like one-on-one sense of what the energies of each month may feel like for you, or may, what themes may be arising for you in that month. There are other levels of the membership for one-on-one direct attention from me regarding your life. So that's all on my website as well. And then finally, the one thing, the new thing that I'm also going to be offering, or I'm starting to offer, is reports called The Song of You in 2022. So this is really, really cool. This is a written report by me where I look at your natal chart, and I look at the transits of 2022, which I now know inside and out because I spent months writing this journal. And I write a report for you, giving you particular dates in the year when your natal chart will be particularly highlighted, some aspects of your natal chart. Like, for example, let's say if that Jupiter Neptune conjunction is happening, let's pretend on your sun, if you're born in a particular I think like the end of March, that might be happening right on your sun, which could be very significant for you. Or there are some other really key dates in 2022, and let's pretend, a particular new moon or full moon happens to be happening on your Venus, right? Like that could mean a whole set of things in your life and what you're experiencing. So in this written report, or I can actually do this in a written report, or meet with you one-on-one, or do both for you. I give you a sense of, here are some major themes that are likely to be percolating for you now and as you move through 2022 and beyond. And and then you can have that session, that report, and just leave it there. Or what feels so good to me is to do that for someone and then carry that through the year and, you know, refer back to that every month and say, okay, so now it's February. And in February in particular, X, Y, and Z will be going on, and it will interface with your natal chart in these ways. And then we can, depending on the level of your membership, we meet one-on-one, or I do this in a written form or in a video to you. And, you know, really hear from you what's going on in your life, what's actually coming up. And then we drop into what is the most helpful way maybe for you to move through that time, whatever that is. So yeah, those are lots of things I'm really excited to be doing, and would love to connect with you if that feels right for you. So again, my website is livingtheonelight.com. You can reach me at livingtheonelight@gmail.com if you want to email me. But on my website is a link to everything I've just talked about. So livingtheonelight.com. And thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you soon.